I've got the volume on and my live over here. Okay. Yep, I think I'm live, and I'm live. So now, happy afternoon. Nice and nice and rainy over here after a lot of really sunny weather. So now, oh, we got some feedback. Okay, so here I am. So welcome to another live Farmer Spreadsheet Academy tip every Thursday, 2 p.m. Here I am. And today what I'm going to talk about is when you're setting up your online store, you've got to get all your products into your online store. And you can enter them one by one. Actually, let me just make this disappear. Okay, yeah, so we'll bring that slide back in a second. Yeah, so you can bring them in one by one, which, depending on how many products you have is feasible, but generally you have a lot of products over time, and you might want to make changes in large quantities of them at a certain point. And so that's what today's spreadsheet tip is, how to manage and import your products in an easy way. And we're going to do that with a CSV file. So I'm going to start off by showing some slides of how to get how to get this information out of Shopify. And then we're going to jump into some spreadsheets, and we're going to look at how to set up a CSV file that's really easy to maintain and then export and then import back into Shopify. So let's head over to those slides. So here I am. This is a Shopify dashboard. Now, I'm using Shopify for these examples because it's what I'm most familiar with, but most online store platforms will let you import your products as a CSV. If they don't, I would consider using a different online store platform. This feature alone is important. Being able to manage orders or products or inventory easily with a CSV file is a vital thing for your long-term happiness working with an online store. So here's your dashboard, and on the left you can see products from the tab from the sidebar. So we'll go there, and that brings us some products. I filtered down to some music garlic. You can click on whatever check boxes you want to highlight the products you want, and then in the upper right corner you can choose export. Later on, and I don't think I have a slide for that, but later on, excuse me, when you want to import the CSV file, you click on the button just beside it and then import that file. But for right now, you click on export, and before you start working with the CSV file, it's good to see what it looks like. And so you create one product. You can click on the upper right corner, it says odd product, create a product in your online store, and then afterwards export that product to get the CSV file and see what it looks like. So you click on export, you choose what you're looking for, and you export it, and then you can open a Google Sheet, and from the file menu, you can click on import file. You can upload a file and from your desktop, and in that case would be the CSV file, and bring it and import it, and it's going to go into your spreadsheet. So we'll get into the spreadsheet in a second, but that's the basic way to export your CSV file and then to import it into a spreadsheet. So import into the spreadsheet. You get the import file tab. It's going to say the number of the CSV file. For the location, you choose append to current sheet or replace data, selected cell, one or the other. And then you can import that data into your sheet, and it'll appear there. And we'll look at that in a moment. But while I'm looking at some slides before I switch over to spreadsheet, there's one more thing, is we're going to be looking at pictures in this file. And so as a consequence, it's good to see how to get them. So back from your dashboard, I have the arrow at the wrong spot, but lower down, it says settings. So you can click on settings, and it'll bring you to a tab that looks like this with all kinds of wonderful things. And then you could choose files in settings, and you'll get to a sheet that looks like this. Now you can upload some pictures to your online store directly in the upper right corner. and then afterwards they'll appear as items like here, like this. The UM302 is actually it's our product name. It's our SKU for carrots, but you can import a picture, and then you can get the URL by clicking on the link, and that'll copy your URL onto your what do you call that? Whatever the copy paste thing, and you can then copy it into your spreadsheets later. And so in the example I'm going to look at, this is exactly where I would have gotten that information. And so that is getting the CSV file out of, what am I doing here? Skimming through slides. That's getting the CSV file out of Shopify and into a spreadsheet and getting your pictures. Now let's go look at a spreadsheet with that stuff in it. So I'm going to share, I'm going to share this spreadsheet right here. And okay, yeah. So I'm going to share this spreadsheet right here. If you want to play along at home, and you should follow me right here, but you can get the link from spreadsheet.farm/FSA032. From there, you can choose to sign up to my email list and get fantastic spreadsheet tips, or you could just get the spreadsheet without signing up. And that'll bring you to this place here. You can make a copy to use at home. Now here I've imported a sample CSV file, and normally it would be there'd be no color on it, just be black text on white. I've color coded it for what we're going to use a little bit later, but there's a bunch of different columns in here. And so if I look at just reading through, here, the first one is the handle. This is kind of the identifier that means that this is a unique thing. It's set up to be the same as the SKU or the code, which we'll look at after. There's the title, so it's a bunched carrot. The body, so that's the description that you'd have in your text. The vendor, it's whatever your farm name is. The type, which is a vegetable in this case. The tag, so that might be how you classify it on your online store for how people navigate. So in this case, it's classified under root vegetable, comma, carrot. So there's 2 tags. It's not published right now, so people couldn't find it. That's false. And then some of these, unless you're using variants, this stuff will just show up as title and default title. And then there's the code, the approximate weight, and then how it tracks inventory. There's a price. There's the picture that we'll see in a bit. So all this information is in the CSV. And when you have all these files here, these fields, it can be a little bit daunting to manage everything in this feed. Now you could just manage everything in this file like this, but what I'm going to show you is 2 separate sheets that we're going to merge into one separate sheet here. And so that's actually what these different colors are. So the blue is from one sheet, the green is from another sheet. The yellow is a formula embedded in the sheet, and then orange is just blank. So that's the easiest one to fill out. And so we're going to create 2 more sheets that are linked into this, and then you will what will you do? You will you can manage those 2 other sheets and then deal with the CSV file, export it when you want to update stuff, and do that. So let's jump into that. So the first sheet here is a sheet that I've just called description list. So it's a list of all the crops that you have and their descriptions. So the product here would be carrot. It's good to have a code, and here I've called it a parent SKU because so SKU is short for stock keeping unit. It's kind of a product code, and it's called a parent SKU or a parent code in this case because when we get to the formats, we're going to add something else to the SKU to identify the format. So CAR is the shorthand, is the code for product for carrot. I mean, we could change it to be a number like 20 or 201 if we want. It doesn't have to be letters. You can do whatever you want. Though I think in my sheets I've set it up to be 3 digits or 3 things, and I'll show you where you could change that if you wish. So carrots. And then there's a description, really great description, orange and crunchy. It's being sold by us. it's going to be in the vegetable category, and there's the tags, and then here is the URL for the image. So this is the stuff that really describes what the carrot is. And when you have your product, this is the kind of like what the people look at. And here's another one for beets. Now, there's another sheet that I have, which is the format list. And the format list is, you can sell crops in many different ways. So here, these 2 lines I've put in. So I'll fill them out one by one. Let's just start off right here. So let's say, so I've created a drop-down menu, and oh, do I? One second. I was just fooling around with this. I want to make sure that everything is working as it's supposed to. Okay, if I click the drop-down menu, yeah, so I could choose a crop. Okay, so I'm going to just refix that. Okay, so let's say it's empty. I can choose a drop-down menu, and you can define drop-down menus by going through data validation. I have other spreadsheet tips elsewhere about using data validation for drop-down menus, so I won't jump into that right here. But so we've created a drop-down menu. So I'm going to choose carrots, and when I click on carrots, anything that's blue is a formula that's linked to this word carrots, and it's actually an index match formula. And this is one that we're going to see a few times here, so I'm just going to work through it. So I've deleted the formula here. Oh, I should put everything a little bit bigger so you can see it better. So the index match formula looks words up. So I'll write index equals index, and it's going to be looking in the description list for, so column B is column A is the parent skew, which is what I want to look up. And it's going to try to match the word carrot amongst, so at A2 and then comma, amongst column B, which is the crops, and then comma 0. And 0 is important because it means you want an exact match. I'm going to close the parentheses twice, and here it looks up the word CAR. And so each of these that are in blue are formulas that are looking up a word that's here, and or looking up some index matching something based on here. So here the CAR, if I were to change this to 201, and now it says 201. So here's an index match looking up the parent skew, and then the format might be a bunch. And I've actually, so these formulas, let me lock this. These formulas here in blue, they're actually, it's just text. So what it is I've written equals the word, so the handle is CAR, and then end, quotation mark, hyphen, quotation mark, end, so ampersand, bunch. So it's going to look up what's in B2, which is CAR. It's going to add the quote in quotation mark is the text it's adding, and then end C2. And we see that right here. So I could put a slash instead of the dash, however I want. And so this looks up the handle, which is also the same as the variant skew. So the parent skew is the one that unifies, all the carrots are CAR, and then each different variant, which has different format, will have a different word there. And then the published, let's say we're going to publish it means true. True is published, false it's not published. And then the variant grams, let's say a bunch is approximately 450 grams. This doesn't matter if you're not going to ship. You could probably just put it at 0 if you're not going to ship it somewhere. If you're actually shipping and care about the weight, you want to put a weight in. And then a price is important. Let's put it at $4. Is it taxable? A lot of vegetables are not taxable. And then the variant barcode. And if you don't use barcodes, just leave this 0. So that's a first product. And let's say we also offer carrots in 2-pound bags. So that creates another option. And so here it's true, published. And the variant grams, I don't know if Shopify is only in imperial metric units, but if you do work with feet and pounds, just check that up if that changes. But so this is based on grams. So 2 pounds would be 900 grams. And then the variant price, let's say we're selling a 2-pound bag for $6. And this is also variant is taxable is not taxable. Okay, so we have these 2 sheets, the description list and the format list. And And these sheets are much easier to manage than that big CSV that we looked at with all the different columns that has different kinds of things you're thinking about. And so with this, there's, it's a handful of columns that you define exactly what your product is called. And this is something that you're probably not going to change very much. And then your format list, this is the way you're selling your products. And so every time you update your prices, or if you have different formats, you could change that here. If you want to publish or unpublish things quickly, you change that here. And then it's linked into this Shopify CSV file. Now, let's look at how that's linked in. So so the stuff that's in blue as a header, that's what's coming out of the format list. So I'm actually going to change the color here to blue to mark that. The stuff that's in green over here is from the description list. Let's just change that color here to green. And then the stuff that's, we'll keep this one yellow. The stuff that's in yellow is a formula that's embedded in here. And what's orange is empty. So let's look at the different pieces. So this is, there's two ways I'm bringing information into here. One of the ways is I'm bringing in, so the two ways I'm bringing information into here. The first way is that I'm using a filter formula, and that's the stuff in blue is from a filter formula. And then I'm also using index match to bring in the green stuff. And the index match is referring to everything in the A column. So let's look at that. So I'll delete this. So when I delete that A1, all the green stuff disappeared. So the formula I'm using is a formula called filter, which is pretty powerful. So I do equals filter, open parentheses. And what I'm filtering is from the format list. I'm going to be choosing the handle. So here, so column A is the handle. And in the format list, the column D is the handle. So I'm going to do equals filter, open parentheses. I'm highlighting column D, and then I'm going to do comma. So it's going to look up everything in column D, and I want it to show everything up. I don't want these error messages. So anything that in column A is, so I'm writing the lesser than or greater than. This means not equal to, so double quotation marks, not equal to empty. And then I close the parentheses. So here it's going to look up. It's going to give you the values of column D for all the rows that in column A are not equal to empty. So I push enter, and this shows up. And actually, in this case, it's included the title because I went from A down, but I probably want it to be A2. So I'll update this to be A2 and D2. And so those go up. And so that's how I've done the handle. And essentially all the ones in blue, it's the same thing that's looking them up that way. Now, so whenever I update anything in this format list, like if I add another format, I add some beets, for example, and this is going to be a bunch of beets, and they're published true, and let's say about £1 also, and they're going to be $4 each, and they're not taxable. So as I've added the beets, they show up right here. And so let's say I add another crop down here, which is rutabaga. This is a root farm, it looks like, and maybe it's going to be RUT for the parent skew. And then I add another product, which would be rutabaga, and maybe it's just a unit. And I'm not going to fill out all the, well, it's a good, if you don't fill out everything, when you import into Shopify, or certain columns it wants to have filled, like the published or not published is going to want to have those filled. And the variant grams, maybe this is a 450, so a pound is 454 grams, so it's pretty close. And maybe that's a $3 rutabaga. And I would also need to bring this stuff down, and we're just going to put the same picture of the beet in there. And now in the Shopify CSV, I have that rutabaga. And you can see where I didn't write the description, it hasn't showed up over here. So this next column, the columns in green, they use an index match. And so it's, whereas the filter formula, you just put it in the top one and it fills everything underneath it. It's called an array formula. These ones, it's each cell has something. So there's a formula all the way to the bottom, and it's an index match formula. So I'm going to delete the top, and the way it's written is so it's in equals index. This is that same index that we looked at before, and we're going to be looking in this case for the description, and we're going to match it to, I want to match it to the handle in column A, and then put comma 0 because it's exact. And we're going to have a problem, Lucy. So here it says it doesn't find it. And that's because this word here, CAR hyphen bunch, has that hyphen bunch extra, which is you don't find in the parent skew. So we got to get rid of that extra stuff to just match the parent skew. So I'm just going to write that underneath here to show you how we'll do that, and then I'll put it into the formula. So if I write equals left, so I'm just taking the left digits, or left, so the formula is called left. We'll talk about what it does after. Left, open parentheses, highlight, so cell A2, comma 3, close parentheses. It will show me the left 3 letters or numbers. I could also do right. In that case, it shows me the end, which isn't valuable here. So here, I want to just look up the word car, C-A-R. So I am going to, inside this formula where it says A2, I'm going to embed that left, looking up A2, first 3, close parentheses, and it now shows up. Now we have one more problem, is if we copy this and drag it all the way down, we get this error message. So here there's nothing, because when it looks up the word RUT in the rutabaga, it finds nothing. If I put sample, I look up over here, and now it says that. But this error message is a problem, because when I export this CSV to import into a spreadsheet, it's going to create an error message. So to get around that, what I'll do is I'm going to wrap this formula in a if error message. And so actually, let me just redo that. So what I do is I'll start with the formula. At the beginning, I'm going to write, okay. I'll start with the formula again. At the beginning, I'm going to write if error, open parentheses, and then the whole formula. And after that formula, comma, and if there's an error, I want it to be double quotation marks, which means it's going to show no text. I close quotation mark, close the parentheses, and I push enter. And in this case, it doesn't change that first line. But when I drag this down here, these ones change, because now when there's an error message, it shows the nothing. So I'll bring that all the way down. And so all the green tags are looking up things based on the CAR, the first 3 letters in this word. So back when I said, if you want to have a skew that has more than 3 digits, you're going to have to change the formulas here. And so it'd be good for your skew to have all the same number of characters, be they digits or letters, and it should all be the same number. And then you can easily, so if here, let's say you wanted it to be 4 letters, or let's just put numbers. We'll call this 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. Now, in the format list, these have all updated accordingly. And in the Shopify CSV, we have, so here's the problem, is that this is looking up for the first three units, characters, as we said. So we'll go in and change that 3 to 4. And it's not showing up. I don't like that. 3, 2, 4. Okay, so this is not a good example. Let's just double check everything. Looking at the left. Oh, and the reason I think is this is, okay, let's say I think it's because it's a number. If I put A, B, C, D, 4 letters, is it going to show up? No, it's not showing up. Oh yeah, if I do put the 4 there, now if I go back and I put in a number, is it going to disappear? It doesn't show up. And so the reason for that is this is actually, if I do equals left of this, and I put the first 4, it shows me 1,000. This is actually considered text because it's coming out of text. If I want it to be a number, I'd have to write value and then wrap it in that, and it's now equals to 1,000. So I'll just, in this case, if I do value, it shows up because now it knows it's a number. Anyway, let's not, so I think my advice is don't do a skew that's only numbers, and it'll be easier. So we're just undoing all these things, and it brings us back to where we were. And so each of the green comes from an index match formula. Now we're almost at the end. And so in yellow are items that it's going to be the same text for all the items no matter what. And yes, you could embed them into one of these lists, but the less columns you have to manage, the better. So in this case here, I'll freeze the first frame. Here, the option 1 name, because we're not using variants, it's just going to be title. And so what I will do here is I'm going to do an if sentence. So equals if, open parentheses, this is not empty, then I want the word to be title. If it is empty, I want it to be double quotation marks, which is nothing. And we can see that here. And then I drag that down. In this case, you don't see anything here. Now, if I didn't have the double quotation marks at the end, this is a good way to just make sure the formula is working everywhere. And I drag it down, then it says false because there's the true option. So if it's true, you get title. There's no false, so it's just going to say false. So I'll put that double quotation marks. And so all the columns in yellow have that formula, or have a formula with a different word in them based on the word that's supposed to be here. So here it says title, here it says default title, later on it says manual. And so that's how this sheet is built. Now, once you have your CSV file, once you have your spreadsheet set up, you can go to File, click on Download, choose the comma-separated value CSV, click on there, you'll download it onto your sheet, then you can import it directly into Shopify. And it'll update your store with those items. And so that's way easier than managing all your products one by one in the actual store. And so just to wrap up with what we have here, So you have your description list, how the crops are described, your format list, which is how you're selling your crops, and then the Shopify CSV unites them both. And the Shopify CSV file unites them both, and then they can be exported and from your Google Sheet and then imported into Shopify. And that brings us to the end of this live spreadsheet tip. And so thank you for watching. And if you have any farm spreadsheet questions that you would love to have me answer or go deeper dive into as a future farm spreadsheet tip, you're welcome to join into this, to click on this link or to go to spreadsheet.farm/questions, fill out the form and send me your burning spreadsheet questions. And it helps me create more content for future farmer spreadsheet tips. So thank you so much and have a fantastic afternoon. Take care, all of you. And I guess happy farming.